So we're live now, Bob. So good evening, everybody. How are you? This is Dr. Carmen Thomas here, better known as Carmen Thomas, or if you're my granddaughters, you call me Honey. I am here this evening, and I'm excited because I have Bob Hoffman here with me from the Morning Blend. Bob is also the founder of a nonprofit, which I'm not going to talk about that. I'll let him share. And Bob is also public relations for the Wharton Center. I believe I said that correct. Did I say that right, Bob?
You did. Yes, you did.
Okay. So Bob is an amazing City of Lansing leader in my book. And I thought he was phenomenal. And I'm like, I want to know who he is. You guys are probably saying, but Carmen, you always support women and women empower women, but men can empower us women too, right?
Absolutely.
So I thought, what better person to empower us than have Bob here to share what he's doing? So Bob, introduce yourself. Tell us some great things that's happening right now for you.
Sure. So yeah, you kind of said, I have three hats. I work full time at Wharton Center as public relations manager. I've been there 20 years and fell into it sort of because I was at Channel 6 as a reporter and anchor for years and did stories with entertainment. And the former executive director just kind of recruited me. So I fell into it and really found that I love it. I think we're so blessed in this area to have such an amazing center as Wharton Center, but also all the other artistic venues that are in town. I believe that art is power, and art transforms you and brings people together from all different aspects of life with a common goal of watching something. And we all interpret it differently, but it's wonderful because it starts conversations. And I think that's amazing. And it's always amazing. Especially right now, I think it's amazing. Unfortunately, Wharton Center is dark because we're taking an intermission because of COVID, but we will be back. And, I'm looking forward to that. I'm working from home, which is nice. Thank God that I still have a job. And I also work at Fox 47 Morning Blend. Media is in my background. Carmen, I really love talking to people and getting to know people and telling people's stories because everyone has a story and people need to tell their story because your story is helping other people. Your story is helping other women. And so if I can help you tell your story to help other people, that's amazing to me. That's my gift. That's what I'm supposed to do in this life. And so I've always been in media and I'm continuing in media with Morning Blend. Our show runs in the morning, every morning. And it's kind of like cut-ins, 3-minute cut-ins. And we do local businesses, nonprofits, churches, anything that's real positive, that's changing people. And speaking of changing people, and I don't want to talk about myself.
We want to hear you. We want to hear about you.
But
good.
I also have a nonprofit that I started 10 years ago called Epiphany Now, and it's spelled a little bit unusual. It's EPIF for Pass It Forward, ANYNOW. So epiphanynow.org, meaning that, Carmen, you can have an epiphany right now to do something kind for another person. And when you do that, it opens up something that's incredible. It makes you feel incredible. And it helps that person too. And then if you spread that on and say, hey, you have the power to do that too. And it doesn't matter where you are in life. That's the thing that's so amazing. It's like a free drug. If you want to feel good, smile at somebody, pay somebody a compliment. Time, treasure, talent. Those three things. We all have one of those. So pass it forward because we're all in this together. We're all on this earth together. We share this earth. And if we can help each other, that's the most important thing.
That's good. Bob, you said something there. Time, talent, and treasure. That is so awesome. And we have something in common. I do, because of the nonprofit that I run, I started a a women's conference, annual women's conference, and it's all about TransformU, uncovering gifts. And it's nothing but these women coming to share their stories that are inspiring. And their story is what catapults the next woman to have the courage to step forward and tell her story. So we kicked off the first one last October up in Troy, Michigan. And I had some people say, well, it's probably not going to be successful because you're in Troy, but you're doing a Lansing conference. I packed out the Embassy Suites in Troy.
Wow.
It can only take 120 people. I maxed it out, and 75% of the people came from Lansing.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's great.
And so it lets you know that whatever you believe you have and that's your gift, people will come when they know that you're doing it to support somebody else. So it's not for me. It's because I'm driven because I want them to succeed. I want other people to understand that, we have all these great gifts and talents that are lying dormant. And if we don't get them out, we're holding up somebody else's success.
Absolutely. I really believe in something called the toolbox, and that is we all have a toolbox. Sometimes we just don't know how to open it. So if you get an idea, that's an amazing idea, and you think, oh my gosh, I can do this, and you start envisioning it, and it starts going on in your mind. You get really excited about it, and then you try to move forward, and then all of a sudden, it's like, so I do this thing where I write out ahead of time. I do this exercise where list everything positive about it. What's your why? And then the second thing that I do is tell me why it won't work. And I do that for a reason, is because what's going to happen is people are going to come and say, well, that's not going to work because, and I'll say, I've already thought about that. I already know it is going to work. And you move forward, you move forward through it. You open your toolbox, you can move forward, and you can do whatever you want to do. It may not come today, and that's the thing, is that we all want success and we want it really easily and we want it fast and we want it now. But if you say to yourself, look, I'm steady, I'm going forward, I'm steady, I'm going to do it, it will come. It may not come exactly the way you think it's going to come or in the package that you want it, but it's going to come.
I agree with that. I pinch myself some days. I'm like, what am I doing? How did I get here? Why am I in this space? I should take a nap, but then there's no time to take a nap because I'm, like you said, we have to keep going because we put ourselves out there in that space that we wanted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
you're doing great things because you're really changing people's lives, and you're sharing your story, which is inspiring. So, and people can grab onto that and relate to that. And that's most important.
And, I think that's what it's all about. Like sharing your story. So how did you get started, Bob?
Well, I got started in broadcasting when I was a kid. My parents were divorced. My mom, and I was the only child, and my mom spent a lot of time with her parents, and so I did too, obviously. And so when the news came on, my grandpa always said, you have to be quiet and watch the news. And I hated it as a kid. I thought, I hate it. But he'd ask me questions about it. And as I grew up, the news came on, and you quit playing, you watched the news. And it just was ingrained in my head. And I started really thinking, this is what I want to do. And I want to be a communicator, which is totally interesting because as a kid, Carmen, I was painfully shy. I would never want to talk to anyone. And then all of a sudden the opposite happens. But so I kind of fell into the news that way. And I'm a communicator. I want to talk. I want to hear your story and everyone's story. So probably I used to get in trouble at school for talking too much too.
No, you did, and you were shy.
When I was real young, I was shy, and then I totally grew out of that. So I started that way, and then my nonprofit I started because when I was a kid, probably 8 years old, my stepdad came home from work one day, and he was a truck driver, and he was in Pennsylvania. And he said, I pulled over on the side of the road because there was this beautiful bridge. And he said, I got out and I was just looking over the bridge because it was so beautiful. And he said, a man in a big Lincoln Continental pulled up, stopped the car, got out, gave him $100 and said, buddy, it's not worth it. My dad said, no, it's not what I wasn't going to jump. And he's like, well, I just feel like I need to give you $100, and someday you're going to pass that money forward. And he came home and he told my mom and myself that story. And I remember as an 8-year-old thinking, $100. Oh my God, that's a huge amount of money. As an 8-year-old back in the 70s, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I was just flabbergasted. And so I remember probably 6 or 7 years later, he passed that forward because our police department was disbanding. I came from a very small town, and he gave that to a police officer who was going to be out of a job. And so I think that always stuck in my head. And so fast forward, I was on my way home from Wharton Center to work on a Friday. And I had a list of things in my head: laundry, cleaning, nothing fun, just a lot of chores. And we're on 127, and all of a sudden, traffic goes down to one lane. And this car comes up in front of me really fast and cuts me off. And I had a moment, Carmen, where I was angry. And I said out loud, you weren't paying attention. And I really wanted to just hit the gas and slam in the back of them. And when I said, you're not paying attention, I heard a voice that said, well, were you paying attention?
Oh.
And at the same time, I said, it doesn't matter if I'm paying attention. They weren't paying attention to me. And I was talking to myself. And I realized it. And I kind of was like, I was laughing. I mean, I went from being angry to laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to myself. Meanwhile, traffic stops. And I had a flashback of, what if I just got out of my car and gave him $100 and said, I know you weren't paying attention, but here's $100. I didn't have $100 with me, so I didn't do it. But I thought about it, and I started thinking about it, and we're caught in traffic, and I just called a couple of my buddies and said, hey, tonight, Friday night, let's pool our money and let's go out and just give some money away, like $10. And so there was 5 of us, so we had $50. And my friends, they're cool. They were like, okay, it'll be fun. So we did it, and we had a great time. And from there, it spread. I organized an event. I put it on Facebook. I put it on Twitter. And we did it at the restaurant in East Lansing. Oh, the Irish pub. And I can't think of the name of it right now. It's still there. Anyways, it doesn't matter. And we organized it, and we had more than 300 people show up. We started, and we just said, go out into the community and do something kind, and come back in 2 hours, and we have a microphone, and share what you do or what you did. And it was really interesting. The people that showed up, first of all, I couldn't believe that many people showed up. And secondly, people that I didn't even know showed up, and because people were sharing it. So it was totally meant to be. It was serendipitous. And so when they came and they told their stories, and the stories were great, and they weren't grandiose stories. They were people just saying, you know what? I took time out, and I really smiled at a stranger and said hello and started talking to them. And I found out about their story. And it was like, one woman said, I went to Michigan State and helped frat guys clean dishes. She's like, it was cool. She's like, it was so much fun. I learned all about them, and they missed their mom. And I had people went to Sparrow Hospital to say thank you to the doctors and nurses who helped them. There was a mother who had her child with her who was like 12, but he was a preemie and almost didn't make it. And she never thanked the doctors or nurses who helped her child. And so she went back to Sparrow, went into there and left them a note and just said, thank you. Because, and you know. So it's stories like that. There's so many people that enter our lives every single day, and I believe in a deep sense that everyone that comes into our lives has something to teach us, even if it's a lesson we don't necessarily want to learn. People challenge us, people, get under our skin, but maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's something that we can gain from it and learn from it. And sometimes it's just as easy as just patience. Maybe it's just
Oh, so true.
so we started that in 2009, and every year we've been keeping up and we do events. Obviously, this year we couldn't have an event because of COVID, but 5 years ago we started the YPIF Award, which is Youth Passing It Forward. And we look for youth in not only Lansing, but really all of Michigan who have come up with some idea on their own to change the world for the better. That idea could be something simple or it could be grand. And what we do is we take the finalists, we put them up on our website, and we have the people vote. A vote is $1, and every dollar that kid raise goes back to their charity. So we just sent almost $6,000 out to 10 kids' charities this year. Just now, we just finished it actually a couple of weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Yep. Our winner was a senior from Mason High School, Asia Jones, with Garden of Hope. And Garden of Hope is a nonprofit that you would love, Carmen, that really teaches women and young girls and guys too, just topics that can help them in the world, topics that can help them with interviews, help them with dressing. I mean, all these things that we don't really learn in school. Garden of Hope is an amazing organization, and so she won this year. And we had a girl that knit scarves for the homeless in Lansing. We had kids that they were raising money for teen suicide, and so she started tutoring in her school in Langsburg. She started a tutoring opportunity for peers to come to her because she understands topics very well, and so she wanted to help her peers, and so she started a tutoring program. It's just very cool. So we honor youth every year, and for me that's important because look, school's hard. School's hard. And teachers don't have a lot of resources. Teachers don't have a lot of time. They have to be focused, and the kids aren't always focused. But there are some amazing kids out there doing great things that we never hear about. We hear about the kids who are excelling in sports. We never hear about the kids who are making a difference. We hear about the kids who aren't making a difference and the juvenile offenders and all the bad things kids do. But it just drives me insane that I know that there are kids out there that are doing incredible things, making a huge difference. Why don't we talk about them?
Right, right. Oh, that is so inspiring. And those kids have got to feel like, wow, somebody cares.
So, and I do care. And so many people care. And so Epiphany Now, and you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. It's just really about sharing positive. Right now we need positive, right?
Yeah, this is good. This is good. For our audience that's watching, share this Epiphany Now with the kids. We need positive. We do need positive vibe. We need more of this, don't we? We need more of learning that there's so much that we can even do right now to spread kindness and love and peace, and for people who feel like, what am I going to do next?
Right. Well, and there are people out there who are really, but you know what? Honestly, every single person has something that they're bearing, they're carrying around, and so you don't know anyone's story. So my philosophy is anyone that I come into contact with, treat them like they're my family. Treat them as if, because they are my family, because we're a human family. So you know, I don't know what your process you bear. Um, but if I can make that easier for you, then you're going to make it easier for me, and we can pass it around. So
Right. You know, it's funny you say that because as I'm when I'm networking in these groups and when we reach back out to each other or even in the beginning, my first thought is, wow, how can I serve this person with what I have? You know, how can I give something my husband says, you're always trying to save somebody or help somebody. I'm like, well, what else is there to do?
right.
You know, I mean, really, after a while, you can only buy so many items at the store. And right now, where are you going to wear them to? You know, you got clothes in the closet you probably don't even wear anymore right now because what's the point? And then so you have to make yourself kind of change. I totally did new stuff this year with just, you know, learning how to self care. But self care for me is taking care of me, but then I can also take care of somebody else. So if I'm happy, I can make somebody else happy as well. So
That is absolutely the case. Yeah.
it's wow, it's really good. So Bob, when you get up in the morning with all this excitement and energy of wanting to empower the world with care, what's some of the first things that you do every morning? Because I imagine you probably do some of the same things each morning.
Well, it's kind of like, so I believe positivity is sort of like exercise. You have to exercise your mind every single day to stay positive. And so, and I'm not always good at it. I fall off the wagon. But what I really try to do is every day, and I don't fall off with this, but every day I am so grateful. I'm grateful that I live in a country that's still free.
Mm.
I live in a city that's an amazing city, that I have lots of friends, and that I'm able to make a difference. So I'm great, and I have another day. I have another day to make a difference, and that's huge because there are days, especially with COVID right now, where I feel like I'm in a roller coaster, right? Like some days you're really high, you're feeling good, and then other days you're low, and it's like and especially if you watch the news, um, it's it's just it's sad, and so. But I wake up every morning refreshed and say, okay, today's a new day. Today is an opportunity. Today is an opportunity, and Carmen, I make so many mistakes every single day, and I just say, okay, you know what? That's a learning lesson. That's a learning lesson. But those are messages that I continually have to repeat to myself because I, firmly believe that once you go into the rabbit hole, it's hard to get out of the rabbit hole. So don't allow myself to go in there. I just try to stay positive. Because when you swirl down, you can swirl down and you can just get out of control and think, oh my God, this is horrible. So, get my toolbox available. And I did something years ago, and I'm a little wacky. So you're gonna think this is wacky, but I created a folder, a binder, and it has on the front my goals that I have,
Okay.
and I read them out loud because I really believe that, um, health and wellness, surrounding or spending my time surrounded by people, activities that make me happy, taking time to appreciate those I love, learn from, and are positively influenced by. Being outside right now, being outside is so key for me. Laughing, being near water, just being happy and enjoying life. Don't worry about the to-do list. So that's the number one things for my working out my mind and body 3 times a week, physical activity that gets my heart racing. Okay, that's where I fail a little bit. Not so good at that, but I'm trying.
I'm with you there, but we're gonna get there, right? That's my
Yeah.
goal. I'm gonna get there.
Being accountable to myself and then meditate, trying to meditate.
Mm.
Um, and so, I just have this. I have a mantra that I read, and then it's full of quotes, and it's my toolbox because I need this because life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is so hard sometimes. So I need a toolbox that I can go to and look at it and say, all right, you know what? I'm gonna be okay. I'm going to be okay. And it's your mind, exercising your mind to stay positive, exercising your mind to do whatever your goal is, keep track on your goal. Because once you set that intention and you get in the car and you take off, the road is going to pull you in different directions. So just stay course, stay in the car, and hold on, but keep true to what you want to do. And I just totally went off base. I'm so sorry.
No, but that was part of what you do in the morning.
Well, not every morning, but I do have it with me, and I do this a lot.
So
Every morning I'm grateful. Every morning I'm grateful. The other thing I do is I have sayings all over my office and the house. Just wherever I go, I meet myself. I love that.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that, Bob.
Life is an echo. What you send out comes back. Go into the world and do well, but more importantly, go into the world and do good. So I just try to find things every single day that I can be motivated by.
Wow. I have a lot of I have stuff everywhere in this room too, Bob. So I have a lot of positive affirmations too that I say, and I find when I need to be recharged, I especially do it in the morning when it's quiet and nobody's awake because I don't like noise. But I have words on the wall. Hello, beautiful. I have other words. I dare you to be the teacher I never forget. Don't have a story for you. No, do I have a story for you? Because we all have a story, right? And my favorite thing is, so I created myself an email years ago called Unstoppable Carmen at gmail.com. And every time I go give that to somebody, it's so funny, Bob, because they're like, oh, I like that. I said, well, why don't you claim one for yourself? Nobody can stop us but us, right? So if I give you permission to stop me, it's because I gave it to you. But otherwise, I am in control of my own destiny, and I have to make sure I remember that. And so, look, I'm going to jump off and get back on real quick. So my grandsons, because school is out. So these kids are going through things. Our kids, right? We oftentimes as adults forget that kids are depressed from this as well because we've totally interrupted their lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And if we don't pay attention, we won't know what that looks like until it's too late. So my goal is, how do I make sure I'm paying attention? So we're talking, and I tell, my grandsons, because all of the stuff that, the Black Lives Matters and all the bad things that they get to hear about. But, I remind them that we have a choice and our mind is a muscle. So I tell them how important it is to read books about people who overcame trials and tribulations, and they didn't have nearly as much of the tools in the toolbox as we all have today, right? But they were able to succeed from having pretty much nothing. And so I'm always talking to them about different people, George Washington Carver, just people who were successful in our past, and they may be gone, but then we also have some today. But I want them to understand that they didn't get there without an obstacle, but they used their mind and they taught themselves to be mentally tough. I said, so you teach yourself not to allow the words that are negative to affect who you are and then come out that way. I said, so you have to guard your mind, your ears, your heart, and protect what comes in. I said, so I do that all the time. I said, because otherwise I could have lots of bad days. I said, but I have to make a choice not to do that. So I'm teaching this to
learn that.
Huh?
Where did you learn that?
Another story, another day, a long story. But just growing up, I'll when we talk about me one day, I'll have to share some things. Okay. But but I learned a lot about teaching myself how to be mentally tough, and I guess I've just carried it. This is my second marriage, and we've been married for 28 years, my husband and I.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah, but and that was part of that journey, leaving the first situation with two girls. And it was my choice to decide that I deserve more and I'm worth more and I'm priceless and I'm valuable and you're not going to stop me. Nothing's going to stop me. So it's like that positive force in the atmosphere. I'm like, well, I'm going to let the positive energy and the prayers and the faith that I have pull me to where I'm supposed to be. So I had to be in pursuit of my own purpose.
Well, and I think you'll agree with me on this when, and it is an exercise in your brain. So you have to, if you wake up one day and say, I'm going to be positive all day and expect that the next day it's going to be wonderful. It's not like that at all. You have to exercise it. You have to maintain it. You have to, do it day. But then all of a sudden you realize that everything that you think about, you bring about. So when you think about stress, when you think about horrible things, you bring those into your life. But if you think about positives and you think about what you want and you envision what you want every single day, you go over your goals, you bring that into your life. You create, that's the wonderful magic, the power that we all have that people don't tell us. But we have the power to create everything. Like you can create you can create your life the way you want it to be. It's not going to be like, when I say that, it's not going to be like this magic wand that you wave and it's going to happen. Power to make it happen. You have the power through adversity to make it happen. And you're doing it.
We're both doing it. We have to, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Because somebody's depending on us to do it, right? Somebody's waiting on us to finish our course.
Yep.
So, wow, that's really good. So if you had to give yourself advice, it's funny. If I always say this, Carmen, what would you have done different if you were 18? So if you could go back to yourself being 18 years old, getting ready to graduate from high school, what advice would you tell yourself today?
Well, I don't have any regrets, but I guess what I would tell myself is don't study communications, don't study anthropology, study medicine and be a medical reporter. So you're still doing communications, but I'm fascinated by medical. And so I would probably tell myself, think about that. I'd also, at 18, I didn't have any confidence. I have a learning disability, and so it's always been very difficult for me to comprehend things and understand things, and it's been challenging, and so that set me back a little bit, I think. And I still was able to do it, and I would say whatever, and don't listen to anyone. Sometimes your family and your friends they think they mean well, but don't listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
You're the most important person in your life because you'll live with you every single day and you're going to die with you. I mean, so you're the most important person. So I would tell myself that, and I still tell myself that today.
Wow. Now that's really good. That's good. And I like when you said, I have no regrets. You made me have a little wake up space there. Because, sometimes I think about some of my bumps, but, just recently I've come to the place where I guess those were the formative places that I needed to go through to shape me into who I am today. What I would have told myself is to go faster through those and take the right information that I need and not always work to make things a sprint, but, slow my pace down. So while I'm there in that space, I can get what I need.
But, I really believe this with all my heart is that when we're in that space that's uncomfortable, that's icky, we're in it. Think about it this way. You're in that space so that you can appreciate when it's not there. Because if you didn't have that space, you wouldn't appreciate the space where it's amazing. If everything was amazing every single day and it was amazing, there would be no appreciation for it. You'd be bored out of your mind. You'd be like, ugh. So when you have the bumps, think about, okay, I'm having this bump so I can appreciate it later. I'm working through this because life isn't going to be a bed of roses, But it's never promised that either. But you can get through it. We all can get through it.
Right.
And if people are saying, yeah, but I have so many bumps. Every day is a bump, every hour is a bump. Then what I would say is start exercising your mind. Don't focus on the bump, exercise on your mind. Focus on your mind. Surround yourself with positives. Say your mantra over and over. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Like a coach would tell you. Like
Yeah.
if you're in football, if you're in track, if you're in tennis, whatever sport you are, the coach would tell you to get out and practice, practice, practice. So that's what I would tell you too.
It's funny too. I tell myself that most of the time when I have this vision of something I want to do, I always have to see the finish line. And then I work backwards. I'm like, okay, so that's the end. I got to get to the end. So
Yep.
then I start creating in my mind all my steps and processes in order to get to the end. So that means it's like, I'm focused here. So just like you said, you got to block out everything that's the negative distractions and sabotagers that want to get us off the track, even though it doesn't feel good, because sometimes those voices will come and say, well, if I was you, I wouldn't do that because it would be easier if you did this. But no, I got to do that because that's part of the process.
Yep. Yep. Thank you for that opinion, but I've got it. Thank you for that opinion. I've got it.
But you know what? That's really good. That's good because it does make you appreciate where you're at. Because you know what? For me, I think if it was all easy, I wouldn't have a need to say confessions every day or I wouldn't have faith in anything. I wouldn't pray for anything because I wouldn't need
Right.
faith or prayer for
Right.
nothing because I already have what I need. So when I hit my bad spots and I get through them, it lets me know that there's a God that's taking care of me. So my God is always supplying my needs.
Yeah. Right.
And he's looking out for me even when it's in a bad spot, but he's teaching me a lesson
Right.
at the same time because we have to learn just like children. The children have to learn and the parents are to teach them the right way. So I believe truly that is where we're at in life. And so we can't just always expect it's supposed to be handed out to us or given to us or, why didn't I do that? And why didn't I do that? Or why didn't I keep that? Or, all these learning spaces that we've been in, even in, your business world, right? Or your public relations world and in your morning blend and having all these people with stories come on to share how they started and what they've done. It's gotta sometimes make your brain think like, wow.
Yeah. I think, wow, well, I always, I never want to trade spaces with anyone, but I always think I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Whatever, and I'm blessed in ways that I know how to. I have the toolbox, so I'm blessed because that toolbox for me is what blesses me. When I know that if I hit something, a snag, and life pulls the rug out and I'm falling, I grab my toolbox and I look at it and say, okay, let's get back to focus.
It's
And
good.
I think that's the most important thing because if we don't have that, then we're just flying by the seat of our pants. So
Right.
what's in your toolbox? What is it that makes you feel good? What is it brings you center? Um, and it's not another person; it's within you.
I agree with that. I do. I agree with that. So Bob, what nuggets like not that you haven't been given nuggets all along, right? But what nuggets would you give to our audience here about staying the course, especially through COVID right now? You're still doing all your spaces and your places and all your different businesses and things of that nature. You're doing it. You haven't quit on anything, even though we're in a pandemic. I'm sure you probably maybe have ideas of even creating some things because it seems like, that happens as well.
So try to look at everything as an opportunity. Even if it's bad, let's look at it, think about it instead of focusing on the bad. Think about it as the opportunity and even pray on it. Like, what's the opportunity here? Why am I given this challenge? What am I supposed to learn? Maybe it won't come to you, maybe it will. But I really think everything in this sounds strange, but everything is simple. We make it as humans complex. Get your ego out of the way, because your ego is going to get bruised every day. Your ego is going to get bruised. You're going to make huge mistakes. You're going to do things that you think, what the heck was I thinking? Why would I do that? That's okay. Get it out of the way. And it's simple. But when something happens, break it down and say, okay, what's the simplest form? I can do this. I can do this. But don't build that negative ball that's going to, we build this huge negative ball, and then the ball swings and it kills us. It swings and it, and it's like, we built it. So don't build that negative ball. Think about, the first thing I would say is start making a list of everything that's amazing in your life. And if you think I don't have anything amazing in my life, I would beg to differ with you, because you woke up this morning and you took a breath. That's amazing. Write it down.
That's right. That's right.
Write it down. You've got another day to do something to make a difference. And I'd also encourage people not to think so much of themselves, but to think of other people, because when you think of other people, you end up getting more sometimes than they do. So if you could step outside and say, this is something that's huge. I get excited about this because this is something so powerful. And it works for me. It may not work for everyone, but when there's something really challenging for me and I think, how am I going to get through this? I envision myself, I'm 95 years old. And for me, I'm 95 years old and I'm in a nursing home. And I'm remembering everything. And I'm remembering my life. So I start focusing on my life and everything. And then I go back to the problem. I'm 95 and I go back to the problem and I start thinking about the problem at 95. And all of a sudden, Carmen, the problem doesn't seem big at all. Like the problem seems like, whatever. Like it's like, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, whatever. And so I do that a lot. I purposely go forward in time and then I go back in time. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It really helps me a lot. So that's a huge piece of nugget, especially if I'm angry about something. If something doesn't go my way, I will do that.
That's good. It sounds like commanding your atmosphere with your words and your thoughts.
Yep.
Can really make a difference in how we create our days every day.
I just think that we are inherently powerful as beings. We are inherently powerful, and the power is in your mind. The power is what you feed your mind. And so what are you going to feed your mind? What are you feeding your mind? Is it negative? Is it positive? Is it self-deprecation? Is it, what do you say?
That's good. That's good.
That's what I say. That's my nugget.
Wow. So Bob, all I can say is, I'm glad that when I get a thought in my head to just do something, some people will say, well, what made you ask that person? Or do you know them? No, but how will I know them if I don't ask them? So I guess that's the courageous side of me. It's like, well, you know what? If they say no, then I know. But if they say yes and I don't ask, I won't know, right?
Yep.
So I'm just going to always ask. And then if I don't, then I wouldn't have had this opportunity to be sitting here with you, like we're sitting in my living room together or in our offices together, sitting here chatting.
Well, I'd love for that to happen someday.
Me too. This would be perfect because we'll probably be sitting here talking forever about life and how we're going to solve all the world's problems together, right? That's what we do. Us people, we listen to the stories and then we'll think about, well, we know this person, they could fix that, or that young kid over there who's got this invention idea in his head, he's going to fix it. And, we're going to just create the whole world based around all these stories that we hear and all these great people that we meet.
Yep. It's so nice to talk to you. Thank you for asking me to be on your show.
Thank you too. And thank you. I had to step out in faith to do this show stuff. I kept hearing someone say, why don't you do it? People like you. And why don't you do this? And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. You know, I'm that person. Sometimes this one part will say, well, it's got to be perfect. I'm like, well, shoot, it's never gonna happen then, because I'm never gonna be perfect. So I'm just gonna fail and do it. And guess what? That's part of what makes me human, right?
And successful.
I'm not afraid to fail.
I love that. I love that.
Well, thank you so much, audience, for being with Bob Hoffman and I. Bob is amazing. I'm glad you guys tuned in to listen. I'm sure we didn't waste your time. He brought great nuggets, information that you can apply into your life, and it's very applicable. So don't make it hard, as Bob shared today. You know, create this space for yourself and go out and just do it and be unstoppable, right, Bob?
Be unstoppable. I love that.
All right. So have a good evening, everybody.
Great to see you.